Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Natsu Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about My Awkward Senpai Season 1, Episode 9. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we have that opening where, the cold opening where Kanawa and Kamigawa are outside and it's kind of chilly at night, and I love Kamigawa's like, what do I do? He's like, do I do this? Probably no. Should I rub her shoulders? Oh, that's sexual harassment. I shouldn't do that. So he does this chivalrous thing and he gives her his jacket. But as they were leaving, we see Kankaji nearby looking at the whole situation. I was like, okay, cool. Nice that you're finally circling back into the story, because I was like, we got a little bit with you early on in the season, but we haven't seen you pop up since. So, but yeah, while next we have Kamigawa out. God, I always do that. I don't know why I flip their names so much in my head. Kanawa is at a store and she wants to like get some winter outfits and she wants to try them out, but the problem is she doesn't want the store clerks talking to her. And I love that Kamigawa comes over. He's like, "Oh, what are you doing here, senpai?" She's even asking, like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm meeting with someone. I figured I'd do a little shopping beforehand." And she's like, "Well, I wanted to kind of check out the clothing and looking in the store." And I love he knows her enough that he's like, "Oh, you want to go look at some stuff without being bothered by the store?" He's like, "Oh, it's the store clerks, huh?" And she's like, "Uh-huh." He's like, "You want to look at stuff without being bothered by being approached by anyone, right?" And she's like, He's like, "Okay." So he like had lets her have time on her own while he's distracting like the store clerk and asking questions. So he's engaging with her, leaving Kanawa to enjoy searching. And she's like, "Oh my god," it's because she can never bring herself to do it because she's such an awkward person that she can't bring herself to be like, no, I'm good. I don't want, because she's like, she wants to minimize them as much as like interacting with people, because when she interacts with people, she gets like too in her own head and she can't enjoy the actually looking and browsing aspect of shopping. But like this is the first time it's ever happened, so it's kind of cute that like Kamigawa is playing defense for her in a weird way. It's kind of cute, and so she's trying on these 3 different outfits, and Kamigawa says they all look great on her. But then he starts thinking like, wait, is that actually, if I say they all look great, that kind of gives off the energy like I don't care, right? But it's like, nah, Kanawa did not take it that way. She's like, "Oh my god, you liked all 3 of them? Then I'll buy all 3. So it's really nice. And as they were about to separate, it's like, "Oh, it's pretty late, so see you later." And I love that she's almost got to go. She's almost saying like, "Well, good work. See ya," because she like her in her mind, their relationship is always like, typically it's like, oh, we're usually around each other work related wise, so it's almost like an autopilot thing where it's just like, oh, it's not work related, so it's just right, just see ya. And as he's leaving, a girl comes over running, being like, "Oh, you," and grabs onto his arm, and obviously it weighs on Kanawa, like depresses her, in fact. But the moment that happened, I was like, I had a feeling this is how she's gonna be introduced. I have not looked into this. I just, based on the context of like the ending and stuff, and obviously her hair color, I'm like, it's obvious his sister. Obviously that's his sister. I'm betting little sister, but just as possible to be older sister as well. But it's like, that's definitely his sibling. Because if you look at the outro to the show, the fact is that like there's a point where like Kamigawa and Kanawa are getting off a train, and you see behind them on the train, on one side, on the side where Kanawa is behind her is her mom, and on the other side of Kamigawa is the girl. So it's like, that's definitely got to be his sister. Once again, same hair color and everything. She's brown hair but got the green in her, so it's definitely his sister. And I love that the episode doesn't like give you that answer. They're still drawing that out, especially the post-credit teasing that even more. It's like, oh, ooh, we'll get to that later. But either way, like, I kind of had a feeling like it's probably going to be a misunderstanding when that character would be introduced. And lo and behold, we get that. I love that this episode also kind of subverted my expectations by making multiple ways. First and foremost, by making it a two-way street, because it isn't just Kanawa being depressed. And obviously Kankaji comes over. It's like, oh wow, like you've actually changed quite a bit. Like you would never ever show an expression like you were depressed at work. But then, Hata comes over, because Hata's like, "Oh my god, Kankaji, I wanted to meet you." Obviously all of them are in 3 different departments. And so it's kind of like, I guess Hata has like heard all these things about Kankaji. And I guess I almost wonder if like Kankaji's not really in the office much. Because I'm like, the fact is that Kankaji, and so far in the show, like Kankaji and Kanawa haven't even been in like haven't bumped into each other at work. Must mean like, yeah, because I think even, well, because she was out of the office that one scene where they were talking on the phone. So I don't know. Kankaji might have been in the office that day, but just might be on business trips a lot of times. Because I think, what was it, like, Kankaji's in the planning department, I think it said, maybe. So I don't know. Either way, obviously they could tell Kana was upset, and I love that Hata's immediately like, well, if it's something related, it's got to be Kamigawa related. And Kankaji's like, hey, how about we both go, chastise him to kind of get some answers. And Kana was like, fine, and tells him what happened. But even Hata's like, well, it can't be a girlfriend, because she's like, I think for her, it's like, me and Kamigawa are close enough that he probably would have told me something like that. So, but to kind of ease her mind about everything, they want her to kind of relax. So Hata's inviting them out for like a spa day, kind of to kind of relax and get away from everything. Obviously, sadly, I love that like Hata like texted him Kamigawa that he's almost like, why does it feel like things are kind of moving without me being aware of what's going on? But he ends up seeing Kankaji and Kanawa, and Kanawa's laughing, and he never gets to see her like that. Like, he sees her smiling and stuff, but to see her like so like open mouth laughing like that, he's not used to, and that kind of irked his nerves a little, because it's kind of like, right, seeing someone else be responsible for that kind of makes him like, oh, like, because it bothers him, because he's like, oh, Kankaji and Kanawa are super close then, aren't they? And especially when Kankaji's like, oh yeah, like, oh, continue to take care of my little Kanawa, and it's like, little, and now it's like all these little remarks are kind of starting to build up, and it's like, oh, are they close? And so that's why I love it's not just Kanawa getting jealous, it's Kamigawa, and both of them are teetering down these roads of misunderstanding. Like I said, the twist on Kankaji, I didn't see that coming, but I figured Kankaji wasn't coming from the position of, oh, I'm trying to like I really have feelings for Kanawa. It's like, no, like, I'm teasing you, because it seems like that's Kankaji's personality. Are very like, I was like, oh, you like to tease people. It's just like, oh, which is obviously not, because Kankaji even says later on that Kanawa and Kamigawa are a lot alike. They really are. They're both awkward people, and they're very not good at fully speaking their mind, but also like, they kind of both bottle stuff up, and they're just kind of like, they have the personalities that make them very easy to tease, because they're very serious people in a lot of ways. So, and someone playful like Kankaji knows just how to poke the bear in so many regards. So, but when it was like the day of the spa, I love that Hata brings up the fact is like, yo, look at you wearing that you're looking sexy. Kanawa, and Kanawa's like, what? No, like, if there was anything sexy, it would have been like the maid costumes from like last episode. But Hata's like, no, it isn't just about what you wear. There's kind of like an energy about you that brings up the whole sexiness. But then it turns out, Kankaji comes over. It's like, oh, you guys got here a little early. Well, we're not the only ones here early, because it turns out good old Kamigawa was here early too. And he's like, yeah, like, I get the, Senpai told me always about showing up 15 minutes early, and now Kanawa's like, wait, did he hear all that sexy talk we were just having? But along the way, while they're heading towards the spa, Kankaji, like, starts busting Kamigawa's balls and being like, oh, like, he kind of pokes, like I said, the poking the bear of like, oh, he's like, oh, what about this? It's like, oh, yes. And he's just on autopilot responding and being like, oh, Kanawa looks cute today, doesn't she? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, wait, what did you? He's like, wait, don't just distance yourself from me so obviously. So it's like, what, are you trying to say that she doesn't look cute? He's like, no, I'm not saying that. Oh, it's like, oh, so you are saying she's cute. It's like, I'm just saying it suits you. And it's like, oh, what are you two talking about? It's like, oh, Kamigawa said that you look cute today in that outfit, Kanawa, and she starts blushing. He's like, no, all I said was like, it suits her. And then Hata's adding to it by being like, oh, so it's sexy. And he's like, all I said was it suits her. It's like, well, that's the same thing. So it's like, yeah, he's like getting so overwhelmed from Kankaji, and it doesn't help that he has someone like Hata, who kind of plays, middle ground matchmaker to some degree, is adding fuel to the fire. I mean, they both kind of got someone in this situation where it's like, Kankaji, who likes stoking the flames because they like teasing they like teasing Kanoa, but also now enjoying teasing Kamigawa. But then Hata is on both sides because she likes Kanoa, but she also is like obviously good friends with Kamigawa and kind of wants to see things kind of work out in that front. So I thought it was also really sweet too when they were about to go in, like I think they were going to the stone baths first or whatever, and Kana was like, "Yo, Kamigawa, come over here." She's like, "Right, they have hair straighteners like here, so in case you can use that after the whole bath thing, when your hair curls up." And he's like, "Wait, you remember that?" She's like, "Yeah, of course." And it's kind of nice of like, yeah, just it was like a one comment thing like an episode or two ago, and it's like, oh yeah, because like he told her that offhandedly just to make her feel better about like like, oh yeah, like I'm not all great, and like here's some like things about me that you don't know. So, but for him, it's like, wow, you remembered such like an offhand comment I made last episode, which was really nice. But the problem is, Kanoa couldn't fully enjoy the stone baths because all she could think about was the girl hugging up on Kamigawa, and so she's like, right, I need something to get my mind off of this. So they go to the massage, and she's like, do it as hard as possible while the lady's giving her a foot massage. It turned out it was a good massage, but it's like she needed the pain and pressure so her mind wouldn't wonder about it. Hata tried to give Kanoa the advice of you need to be a little bit more like, well, revealing wasn't the word she said. You need to bear it all, but she's like, but this isn't a like multi, like this isn't a both sex type of bath. And it's like, no, I meant it like liberate yourself by like talking to him like this isn't work related and you're not at work, so just ask him up front. And for Kanoa, it's like, well, that's easier said than done. So and obviously Kamigawa is beating himself up because it's like, oh, Kankaji and her and Kanoa are pretty close, but it's like, well, she's my senpai, I'm her junior, and is it really my place to get up in her business? Like, I shouldn't have any say in it, but it's still, you can tell it irks his nerves how close they are. It's like, oh, they must be really, really close then. What's their relationship like? So they both go out for a walk, which I love. They came across that couple that were talking about the baths and stuff, and it's like, oh, we got to go see these lanterns, and immediately speeding past the couple because it just, with everything going on between them, what they're individually feeling, like we don't want to be around this conversation. But when the time came, like they both wanted to talk to each other, but both got so embarrassed to like, it's like, oh, like because they don't feel right, like, oh, this is your personal life, because they don't know how the other feels about it. It's like, you guys obviously like each other, in traditional fashion, but it's like you're so in your own head about it that you're like, because it's also the workspace situation, because it's like, oh, you're my senpai and you're my junior, and the fact is, like, mixing business with pleasure, but also, like, you should have your life, like, just because we work together doesn't mean I should be invested in your life. Like, your life is your life, so like, what part do I have in it? That kind of makes you feel like, oh, I thought we were getting closer, but I don't know how you feel about me. But obviously there's someone else in your life you're closer to. They're both feeling that, and neither one can bring themselves to ask the other about everything, so they walked away saying nothing to each other, sadly. It's really heartbreaking. And obviously Kankaji's watching, it's like, oh, well, time to basically kick in the overdrive. So Kankaji's like, yo, I gotta twist the knife a little. So comes over to Kamigawa, and it's like, oh, you're trying to get a drink for Kanoa? She likes this type. And so it's kind of like a little irksome of like, oh, well, you know what type of drink Kanoa would like and I don't. And it's like, oh, like, does it bother you how close we are? Because we really are close. And Kamigawa's like, no, honestly, I'm actually happy. And Kankaji was actually kind of caught off guard by that response. Because it's like, yeah, the fact is, from Kanoa, yeah, Kamigawa, like I said, I'm so sorry. I keep switching up their names. Like I said, I don't know why. I always want to say Kamigawa for Kanoa, and I always want to say Kanoa for like, I hate that I do that. I'm doing it all the time. I'm so sorry. Like, you'd think I'd get it straight at this point in time, but I still flub that up every recording. I don't think there's been any recording where I've gotten that completely right. I always slip that up. I'm so sorry. From Kamigawa's perspective, it's like, right, everyone always like has a bad like thought about who Kanoa is, that she's scary and she's this and that. It's kind of nice to know like she has someone close that she can rely on, like Kankaji. And the fact is that you're able to kind of, she's able to let loose a little bit and just kind of laugh. Obviously he's a little jealous that like he doesn't have that relationship with her, but knowing she has that with someone in general is kind of nice. She deserves it because he knows the good person that Kamigawa is. Kanoa is, and he knows that just not many people get to see that side of her. Because even Hato like heard all the rumors about her, but the only reason why she was kind of willing to give Kanoa a benefit of the doubt of like, oh, maybe she's not the scary person people think her out to be, is the way Kamigawa like sung her praises and talked about her. And then it's like, oh, out of curiosity, I actually wanted to meet you for myself, to see it for myself, because I knew he wasn't a liar, but I had to see it for myself. And yeah, so it's like, but Kankaji twists the knife even deeper, being like, oh, I like Kanoa, I want to get closer to her, and kind of even twisted the knife of being like, oh, are you fine just staying her junior or whatever? Because like, yeah, you are her junior, like really emphasizing, like I said, really twisting the knife. Because I knew Kankaji was just doing all that just for the purposes of like, oh, I want to just, push you and tease you a little bit. So they're sitting down. Both Kanoa and Kamigawa are basically both drinking themselves silly. Because even Hata's like, yo, are you over there drinking sake? And it's like, and just like, yeah, what about it? And just like, he kind of eventually like passes out because he keeps drinking and drinking. And because both of them aren't dealing with what's bothering them, and now it's just boiling up to the surface. And so I love that Kanoa is like, hey, Kankaji, you were messing with my junior and making him keep drinking. Hata was like, no, that was like Kamigawa doing that all on his own. And it's like, oh, because she says like, yeah, that's my junior forever, don't do something like that. And it's like, oh, well, you're like that because he's your junior, but what if he wasn't your junior? And then she's like, well, he'd be my junior forever. But Kamigawa finally got up. He was like, I don't want that. I don't want to be your junior forever. And then Kanoa's response was kind of taken back by it. And then she's like, but that's unfair, Kamigawa, you idiot. And everyone else is kind of taken back by her response because she's being very open. Like, and as Kankaji brought up earlier in the earlier in the episode, that she's a lot more expressive because she would have kept a lot of that stuff to herself, and people don't really get to see the real side of her. So these are her, it helps being drunk a little that her real feelings are bubbling to the surface in that moment. So, but after calming them both down and letting them get some rest, everything kind of finally simmers down. And so Hata and Kankaji go towards the Babs, but then Kamigawa notices it, that they both went into the women's bath. I was like, wow. That was subverting my expectation. I was like, wow, I would have never guessed that Kankaji is a woman. She just dressed in business suits. I was like, interesting. Yeah, it kind of makes a lot of sense that Hata like kind of made the whole point to like, oh, we're all kind of going to the spas and kind of, because we never did see like, well, to be fair, while Kamigawa was like in the spa, in the sauna, Kankaji was away like dealing with like a business call. So they made a point to kind of not show you until that reveal. And I love that now it's like, it's a lot, like it's very overwhelming because Kankaji comes over to, I think it was before they went into the sauna, Kankaji was like, hey, sorry, I don't actually like Kanoa. It's simply as a friend. I was just trying to see what your feelings were. I do like Kanoa, but as a friend, I just wanted to see what your true feelings were, just, to tease them, but also to kind of get you to admit it. Because if you admit it how you feel, it probably ease Kanoa's mind a little bit about whatever's going on. But like, obviously Kamigawa has overload by like the reveal of, oh, like this was all a play. Also, Kankaji's a woman, so I'm like, okay, all of it hitting him at once, and so he just has his ice cream in his hand, and he just kind of falls out and passes out from it. And then obviously we have our post-credit scene where he comes home, and now you're like, once again, it's meant to be misleading, like, oh my god, like, he has a girlfriend at home, or who is this woman? That's why I'm almost like, I don't know if that's why that scene in particular made me feel like that might be an older sibling rather than a younger sibling, but who knows? I mean, look at, because it might not be the biggest gap between them either way, whether he's the older sibling or she's the younger sibling. I get the feeling she's probably like I said, I thought younger at the beginning, but now I'm like, I get the feeling like it might more likely be older now just because of that at the end. But it's like, yeah, I can't wait for the reveal. It probably won't be revealed until the very end of next episode, potentially. That is like, oh, that's who she really is, but we'll have to wait and see. So, hopefully this also means we get to see more Kanekaji going forward, especially with this whole dynamic and kind of in a similar position to Haja, kind of playing a little bit of a matchmaker in her own right. So, I mean, hopefully we get to see more of her in the future, because I think that'd be pretty dope. But yeah, very, very interesting developments. I'm excited to see what the next episode has in store for us with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.